All right, Lynxford's here and Kathy's here, so why delay? Broadcasting live from beautiful 10 degree downtown Cleveland. It's station WDWL DB, home of not one, but 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And I'm your host, as usual, the grumpy old man. And our show's brought to you by Grumpy Vulture Productions. No bow, thank you, bye. Damn bird. So, how is everybody doing? Yeah, it's a wonderful 10 degrees. Although, I'll tell you what, that Passat is just as reliable as the shitbox. Go out there, hit the key, and the engine maybe like one revolution and it starts. Although I don't know how I missed it. I went up for smokes, and when I come out, my left rear tire was about halfway down. I was like, what the hell? So I went up to the Conrad's Goodyear because they have a free air service and aired the tire up. Now I'm going to have to keep an eye on it. Hopefully there's nothing in it. God damn. I hate it. I hate plug tires. And I'm really hoping that there's nothing in it because that's one of the Michelin tires too. Sad about the Eagles. What's with the Eagles? Not the Eagles out in California. Although I didn't go in the live cam today. Not the Eagles out in Big Bear Valley. Don't tell me there's something wrong because she laid 2 eggs. The return of, the nesting couple. You gotta be shitting me. Really? One thing I noticed, and I couldn't really understand it. Last year, she rarely left them eggs unattended. And if she wanted to take off the nest, Shadow would come down and sit on the eggs. I noticed this year she was leaving them eggs unprotected for quite a bit. So that's the end of Eagle Cam for this year, huh? Because she won't lay any more now. Damn it. I had the camera on yesterday. Matter of fact, since they both returned to the nest, I turned this computer on over here every morning, and today I didn't. Oh, really? God, I hope so. But like I say, this year, both of them were very careless with them eggs. I mean, there were a couple of times she left that nest for 4 or 5 minutes, and the eggs were unattended. Obviously, neither one of them were close by because usually Shadow, he sits up just out of camera sight. Because when they go to the long range camera, he'll be up maybe 15, 20 feet above the nest. And, if one of them was there, they would have, warded them ravens off. So obviously, both of them, I don't know. I've watched them 2 years in a row. And this year, third year, they were real careless with them eggs. And reading some of the information on this couple, they have been the most prolific in producing live young. Oh, geez, really? God, the one day I don't turn the camera, the computer on, I miss everything. Really? Yeah, but what's the chance? First of all, how badly is it damaged? If it's maybe just cracked, I know what's the chance of it hatching, of it being viable anymore? Oh shit. The one day I don't turn the goddamn computer on, because like last year I had two computers set up because I watched them, and then I think it was down in Georgia, a state park in Georgia. I might be off there. I watched two sets of eagles. But Jackie and Shadow, those, I can't believe I didn't turn the goddamn computer on today. God damn it. Because soon as the Friends of Big Bear Valley made the announcement that they had returned, I started watching daily. Because the other day I thought it was kind of cute. Shadow comes back with a mouthful of like moss. And he dropped it in front of her and he was chattering like, "Oh, look what I brought." And she was chattering back, and the next thing you know, she grabbed the moss and went. She threw it right out of the nest. But he was so proud of himself. Look what I brought back for the nest. And she was like, grabbed it. And then he went up to his limb. Man, that's so sad. I mean, the goddamn bald eagles are endangered. And they say, a lot of times there's like a 50% hatch rate on their eggs, and then this shit to happen. That's sad. So they're going to turn the camera off, huh? God, I hope Shadow comes back. I hope she's able to lay at least another egg. Man, that is so sad. But that's nature. That was like last year. She laid 3 eggs, all 3 hatched. And then they had that freak snowstorm. And the one, unfortunately, it was the littlest chick. He wasn't underneath her far enough, and he freaking froze to death. But at least, what I can't remember. One of the birds was Gizmo. I can't remember what his brother's name was. Both of them ended up doing a full fledged from the nest. But with them being, untagged in that, they don't. Plus, they have to find their own territory. Really. So until she gets it in her head that egg is like no longer viable, nothing's going to happen. Damn, huh? I miss all the good shit. I don't know what it's been force of habit since they returned to the nest. I turn on this computer and then I turn on that one. And that one, the monitor is just a little higher than eye level. And I turn the volume up. And if she squawks, I'm like, okay. But I noticed they were not staying 100% on the eggs all the time. Sunny, that's right, Sunny and Gizmo. Because I remember Sunny was the first one to fledge. And Gizmo, one day, was acting like an ass. He was standing on the edge of the nest, flapping the fuck out of his wings, jumping up and down, and a freak breeze came through and blew him out of the nest. Luckily, he went down 20, 30 feet and he landed in another tree, but it was so funny because he was like, oh, whoa! Blew him right out of the frickin' nest. What a way to get your wings. But I watch them every single day until they fledged. And then every now and then, one or the other or both, they'd come back to the nest. And sooner or later, mom and dad were like, hey, go feed yourself, I was like a proud papa when she laid them eggs. I was like, oh boy, 2 more. Damn it. Oh well. That'll teach me. Day late, dollar short, I was watching a shitload of motorcycle chase videos. These idiots think they're going to get away from law enforcement, especially Arkansas and Florida, because those troopers don't give up. And sooner or later, a biker ends up on his face. There was one, holy shit. He was doing somewhere between 80 and 100 miles an hour. And, weaving in and out of traffic. And he looked back to see if the trooper was still on his ass, which he was. And when he looked back, he veered right, not paying attention, ascended an SUV, and he must have gone 20 feet in the air. Of course, by the time they found him in the weeds, he was toast. And then, oh God, you talk about, there was one, the chase went for almost 45 minutes. And this guy ended up at the end of a dead-end road. So he drops the bike and he starts to run. And there were two troopers chasing him. And one trooper decides to tase the guy. As he tases the guy goes up in flames. And he's rolling on the ground, and they get fire extinguishers. Here the asshole was carrying 3 plastic jugs of gasoline in his backpack. And when the taser hit, woof. Luckily the guy immediately dropped on the ground and started to roll. Although all that did was push more gasoline out. Then they finally extinguished him, but luckily he wasn't burned too bad. Because they said once he was discharged from the hospital, he served his 5-year prison term. But watching some of these idiots, and then, oh God, what the hell was I watched, just before airtime, I watched a motorcycle chase in Spain. And I think they call it the ROCOR unit. I think that's what the narrator kept saying, the ROCOR unit, whatever that stands for. These motorcycle cops are a combination of motorcycle cop and stunt driver. Holy shit. They were in this one town and weaving in between buildings and going up and down stairs, and the guy was making U-turns, and the cop that was chasing him was relentless. And they were hitting speeds going down these little narrow, in between little alleyways, in between doorways, at 100 miles an hour. And I think he said it was called the ROCOR unit. And every 15 days, these guys go through this type of obstacle course training. And they said they didn't know why he was chasing this guy on the motorcycle, but they said this is like the elite unit that when they have to, chase somebody, these are the ones that they send in. Oh, you saw him get blown out of the nest? Oh my God, I laughed my ass off because he was flapping his wings and jumping up and down like, look at me. And the next thing it was, yeah. He learned to fly the hard way. Because, he was watching his brother. And that was the same thing that his brother was doing. But his brother was doing it in the middle of the nest. Dumb idiot is right on the edge of the nest, jumping up and down, flapping his wings. Then a gust of wind comes. Whoops. I'll tell you what, it was very entertaining to watch from egg laying to hatching, and then the chicks growing. It's amazing how fast they grew. And then in the meantime, Marianne sends me a link to hummingbirds. And it's amazing from hatching how fast a hummingbird grows. It was like, a week and they were like ready to fly. Not that short, but yeah, she watches hummingbirds. Na zdrowia. My insulated bedroom nighttime mug. It's just like the Heineken one with a different beer on it. I'll tell you what, these are great. They're 22 ounce. I'm pretty sure 22. 20. 20 ounce. And there's like nothing to them. It's aluminum with an air pocket. That's what it literally is. You got an inner aluminum and an outer aluminum and an air pocket. These will keep hot coffee hot for 10 to 12 hours. And they will keep a cold drink cold for 12 to 14. Now, what I do is every night or every morning, I empty it, I rinse it out, and I stick it in the freezer. And then, before bedtime, I fill it, and it is cold all night long. And it's got this nice carry handle. It's threaded with a seal up here. And then you got the drinking spout that folds out. I got these off of Temu, $15. Now, if I go out to Fin, Fur, and Feather, these are $30 to $45, depending on size. Same identical mug. I love them. Just go on Temu and type in insulated mug, and they have them in different sizes. I get the big ones. But if you buy them like Target's got them and Amazon, they're $30 to $45. Same mug. Boy, my mail carrier wasn't too happy today. She was telling me that every morning they get a call from the main that tells them, it gives them an estimate on how much mail they're going to get the next day. And she said when the postmaster got the call from the main, he said there were 6 53-foot UPS trucks. There were 6 53-foot FedEx trucks and 10 53-foot Amazon trucks dropping packages. Because she brought me my coffee today. Matter of fact, I tried a new. I love this Tully's. I tried this. It's dark roast Hawaiian blend. Usually this comes UPS. Today, my mail carrier brought it. And you know, as much as I like UPS, it just goes to show a lot of times they are not the end delivering agency. And people unknowingly pay the higher rate to have UPS ship a package figuring it's going to go from point A to point B. No. They're emptying their trailers at the main post office. She said they got a report all these trailers were lined up waiting to back into the dock to empty for the post office to finish the delivery. And you know, they don't advertise this. When you drop a package at the UPS store and you ask them, is this going to be delivered all the way or is it going to get dumped off at the post office? Oh, no. It'll be delivered all the way. Nope. Like I say, that coffee, I order it monthly. I order three different types because I've been experimenting with different dark roast coffees. And every time I order it from Keurig Direct, it comes UPS, except today. That's okay, Kathy. Everybody deserves to be have a day where they're not 100%. I have a lot of them days. And then, oh God, you want to talk about a fucked up situation? Oh, Jesus Christ. I decide to put the SIM card in the phone. So I call Spectrum and I said, I'm getting ready to put the SIM card in the phone. They said, okay, you've got to call, which I already knew, consumer to get a transfer pin. Okay, I call consumer, I get the transfer pin number. I call Spectrum back. For some reason, the transfer won't go through. So nobody could figure out why, I put the SIM card in last time. It was easy. Everything just, 7, 8 days ago, both phones went back to consumer. Nobody could figure out why it wouldn't transfer. So the guy at consumer at tech support goes, take the SIM cards out of both phones and switch them. I said, what? Take the SIM card out of phone A, put it in phone B, take the SIM card out of phone B, put it in phone A. Okay. Boot up both phones. The guy calls the first phone. It rings, I answer. He calls the second phone. It rings, I answer. Okay, both phones are working. Here's the problem. I have, like I said, two Motorola Moto G stylus. I have the 2023 5G and I have a 2025 5G. I prefer the older phone because on the newer phone, they made a lot of software updates and some of them are confusing. The numbers are switched. My primary phone is now my secondary phone, which is the older one that I'm very familiar with. Now my primary number is in the newer phone that I hate using. They can't figure out, neither Spectrum nor consumer, how do you get the numbers back in the right phones? I said, what if we just swap SIM cards? Well, then we'll be back in that loop where the transfer isn't working. I said, I should have left well enough alone. And just the phone that just went back to consumer, I should have taken that one and put it back with Spectrum. Because all we're doing is transferring phone service. Now it's all fucked up. They tried, oh God, I was on the phone for like 2.5 hours with consumer, and it was a 3-way call. It's Spectrum, consumer, and me. And we're doing all this shit back and forth. Finally, I said, people, here's what's going to happen. Both phones are working. I will just bite the bullet and get used to using the new Moto G, and that's it. We spent almost a total of 4 hours today trying to straighten this fuck up out. I will just bite the bullet and use the newer Moto G, which I hate, and my older one will be my backup. I didn't have this problem, when my deal ended, and I called consumer and said, I'm bringing that phone back. It was nothing. It was just a quick transfer back. I got the PIN number from Spectrum. I gave it to consumer. They reactivated the phone under consumer, and both phones were perfect. Then today, and neither tech support division can figure out what the fuck happened. And now we can't get the phone numbers back where I want them. I should have just left well enough alone and said, we're going to transfer the phone that we just transferred and left the other phone out of it. No, Grumpy's got to do something screwy. So my like I told the girl, I said the older phone is like the old comfortable shoe. And now they're both, this is the thing, they are both Moto G stylus phones. One's a 23 and one's a 25. But they made a huge software change in the newer phone, and they deleted a lot of the ease of use features that were in the older phone. So that was why I had that one as my secondary, because it doesn't, I can't, it's not like going back and forth between two phones. Because what works on this one don't work on this one. And I'm so pissed off that they deleted a lot of the features, that they had in the older phone. After all the time, I just said, you know what? I'm going to make it easy on both companies. I'm going to bite the bullet and use the newer phone. Because the newer phone has two SIMs. It has a SIM card and it has an eSIM. So technically, you could have two phone numbers in the same phone. And here's the pain in the ass for me. When I go to dial a call, a box comes up and says, choose your SIM. eSIM or card SIM. All I have to do is tap card. And then I can dial a call. It's no big deal. But they could not figure out how to make that go away. The phone should be locked on the card. It brings up both SIMs, and you tap one or the other. The whole thing is, though, if I tap my second number, all it does is go to voicemail. You can't make a call. So you have to tap SIM card. And then the phone works perfect. Neither tech support could figure out how to lock the phone on the SIM card. I said, you know what? It's a tap. That's all it is. If I go to make a call, I just tap SIM card and it opens up the keypad and I can make a call. I'll live with it. If it's going to happen to somebody, it's going to happen to me. Because matter of fact, I told a guy from tech support from Spectrum, I said, come December, I don't want to go through this shit again. You guys give me the best deal up front right away. Because I'm not going to take and transfer a phone back to consumer 7 days later to bring it back to you. It's asinine. Even all the people at consumer said the same thing. It's a stupid move. Because, like I told both of them, I'm really not going to use the Spectrum service, even though it's free, because that's my backup phone. I said, maybe I'll make a call or send a text message once a month just to use it. And it's pretty bad when you got tech support at two different companies and neither one can figure out what the hell fucked up. Oh, yummy. 7 more days. 7 more days. I'm going to turn into a fucking cranberry. But it's working. It's working. Boy, but I'll tell you what, when I take a slug of that in my sleep, oh, does it wake you up? So, Kathy, did you get any snow that actually stuck? I mean, I know you didn't get enough to make a snowman, but was there visible snow this morning across the open plains? Oh, I forgot to ask. Did they ever determine what caused the barn fire? Was it ever in the paper or on the local news? Oh, you must have had a big smile on your face this morning. Snow! Not like Cleveland, but at least you had an accumulation. Had to make you happy. I forgot what I was going to say. I was going to say something. I was going to. What the hell was I going to mention next? Let me see if it's in my notes. Nope, we already went everything over my notes. God, it's interesting that they haven't. Well, I'm sure that they finally found a cause, but it would be nice if everybody, if they put it in the paper or on the news or. Oh, we're not going to be anywhere near freezing for another week. We're going to be mostly in single digits at night, and maybe the high will get to 15 or 16 during the day. Today, the high was 12. Oh, I know what I wanted to say. Does anybody use Minute Maid frozen orange juice or lemonade or pink lemonade or limeade? The frozen cans. Now, me, I like the Minute Maid pink lemonade. I usually get it during the summer. Well, Coca-Cola, who is the parent company of Minute Maid, is ceasing production. Whatever stock is in the stores is the last of it. Because they said it's not selling anymore. So they say they will be 100% wound down by April, but they're not going to be producing. So whatever is in the warehouses right now will get shipped out, and then there'll be no more. They're doing away with it completely in the U.S. and Canada. So I guess tomorrow when I go to the store, I'm going to stock up on Minute Maid frozen pink lemonade. Because to me, there is a taste difference from the frozen to the bottle in the cooler case. Plus, it's cheaper. But they said people are getting away from it. They want it right there in the bottle. So Coca-Cola said, no more. That's it. And I tend to think that it'll probably wipe out any of the generics. Because you know who's canning the stuff. As a matter of fact, when I was at Save-A-Lot last week, there was a woman she must have had 30 of the small orange juice, frozen orange juice in her cart. So I would tend to think that all the frozen is going to probably vanish. So I guess I'll have to be going to like Mark's and Gigantic Eaglet and stocking up on the pink lemonade. I liked it because basically, you throw it in the freezer, and if you don't want to use it for a month or two, it's fine. There would be a lot of times I would stock up during the summer and then maybe get a taste for it in December and make a jug. Not no more. Yeah, it's the orange juice, the lemonade, the pink lemonade, and the limeade. I was never too much for the limeade. But yeah, Coca Cola has, which means, there's another plant closure, more people out of work. How many people are we going to put on the unemployment rolls? Although, with these big corporations, it's all dollar and cents. They look at it and they go, this shit ain't selling. Stop making it. Supposedly, they're going to make a big announcement. God, I remember back growing up, I think everybody had cans of that shit in their refrigerator. Yeah, like the old here's your sign. Here's your pink slip. Here's your pink slip. Unless they convert the plant to making some other frozen. Aren't there like frozen cocktails? Christ, like I say, I can remember growing up. Every one of my friends, their freezer would be lined up with cans of frozen orange juice. All the little ones. Now everybody wants fresh squeezed. You can get it normal with a little pulp, with a lot of pulp, and all pulp. And that's another thing like bottled water. You go over to the cooler case and there's 500 different varieties of orange juice and this juice and that juice and pomegranate juice and avocado juice and you have to wait till Monday to find out if I can buy a case at a bit of a discount. Otherwise, I'll just keep emptying their shelves. I could see the guy that orders that stuff going, holy shit, somebody's drinking this shit? Ah, damn. Every time I come back here, there aren't any. because they only put 4. They only put 4 28-ounce jugs on the shelf. You have 1, 2, and behind it 3, 4. And then I just, and the stock boy comes back and goes, God damn, it's gone already? People actually drink that shit? Yeah, me. Yummy. And then I forgot I still had them. I found a package of 200 vanilla bean incense sticks. So I've been burning my vanilla bean incense. I haven't been meditating, but I've been burning my incense. Actually, this stuff smells pretty good. I have 200 of these, and then I have 200 peppermint. I haven't burned the peppermint yet. I should be sitting here with the incense here. Yum, 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 yum. Boy, I'll tell you, this batch of hot Slovenian sausages, I think the guy was like, nobody will notice, I'm going to put extra in. Jesus. Hot going in and hot coming out. But delicious. I think I'll get some more tomorrow since I'm going up to Mark's again. Get some more cranberry juice. Growing up, Kathy, how much orange juice was served at your house? You know, back in the day, orange juice was the thing, you know, like an apple a day keeps the teacher away. I could not leave the house until I drank that little 6-ounce glass of orange juice every morning. My mother was like, all right, if you don't want breakfast, drink your orange juice. Yeah, okay. But every stinking morning, from kindergarten all the way up to, I think we stopped at 6th grade. She'd have the little can, you know, shake it up, drink your orange juice. Hardly ever you were poor. Well, we weren't rich at my house, but my mother would buy them fucking cans. There must have been 300 of them in the freezer. Every morning, drink your orange juice. You need your vitamin C. They preach it on TV all the time, all them doctors, you know. 10 out of 9 doctors say drink your orange juice. And, you know, every couple of years it's something different. You know, it was orange juice, and then I remember for a while it was tomato juice, which I liked. And then, a certain vegetable became the big health item. And then a couple of years back, kale. Kale was the miracle vegetable for every cure. Kale this, kale that. I drew the line at kale. I don't even like the way it looks, let alone eat it. When did the kale kick start? 4 or 5 years ago? You never even heard the word kale. And then all of a sudden, if you want to cure jungle rot, eat kale. There were recipes for everything under the sun. Tuna casserole with kale, Chicken soup with kale. Kale soup with chicken. Kale soup. Liquefied kale. Put it in your blender. Drink your kale in the morning. It was kale this, kale that. I'll tell you what, to this day, I can't tell you what it tastes like because I draw the line at kale. Another thing growing up was carrots. You had to eat your carrots because they were good for your eyes. Now, I've always liked carrots. If carrots are good for your eyes, why did I have to have cataract surgery? Been eating carrots all my life. Old wives' tale there, evidently. I don't know, maybe you're supposed to stick a carrot in your eye. Ow! Yeah, it was orange juice in the morning and carrots for dinner. And God forbid if carrots were on the ready to rot bin. Oh, God, my mother, she'd buy the whole rack. Yeah, Kathy, I drew the. I look at it in the store. It doesn't even look appetizing. Maybe it's the best shit on earth. I think they should grind it up and feed it to cows. Matter of fact, I saw it was some generic brand, kale soup. I'm waiting for Campbell's to come out with their kale soup. Who thinks this shit up? Some professor in some university sleeping in a corner going, hey, let's do a kale study. Then for a year they study 50 students ate kale and 50 students didn't. And the 50 students that ate kale are turning green. But if you notice, every couple of years, it's a new fruit or a new vegetable. For a while, I remember pomegranates. They were the miracle fruit of that year, pomegranates. I remember The women on The View were sampling pomegranate. Who comes up with this shit? I think basically, it's a farmer growing pomegranates that needs the money. So they're like, all right, we'll prop you up. We'll do a whole thing on pomegranates. Another item I have never tasted. Because right next to my unsweetened cranberry juice is cranberry juice and pomegranate. I almost grabbed the wrong bottle of them the other day. Oh, shit, no, I don't want that crap. I couldn't tell you what a pomegranate tasted like to save my life. I have no interest in tasting it. It might be the best shit on earth. Not for Grumpy. Tried goofy boots this morning at 3:30. Gets into bed. Comes bounding through the fucking door. So I have to shut the door. And he gets into bed. And gets right up in my face. Meow, 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 meow. What's your problem? Meow, 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 meow. Go to sleep. Okay, thank you. Then after he gives me a massage, he gets out of bed, goes back out. I got to close the door again. He can't just nudge the door open to get his fat ass through. He gives it a nudge, and the door all the way open. The cold air coming in from the living room, and the kitchen. I go, God damn it. Shut the door. 15 minutes later, door open again, up on the bed. Cat's going wacky. I got an email from Marianne. The kitten has adjusted very well to its new home. Matter of fact, the woman said it's a lap cat. She no sooner sits down to watch TV, he's right there. So it's obvious he appreciates his new home. And he's clean. She had to bathe him 3 times. I'm like, oh, God, how do you bathe a cat? Although I am very happy that, because I'll tell you what, if he'd have still been up there, some way or another, he'd have been here. Of course, I don't know how I would have put up with the fighting and the hissing and the spitting. Because if he would have still been up at the gas station, I'd have driven up there with a cat carrier and said, put him in here. I'm taking him. I don't know why they didn't keep him. They got, I think he said they got 3 cats. What would have been one more, especially the oddball? You have a litter of tuxedos and a Siamese. I would have kept him because he was the oddball. And friendly little thing. I got to see if I can get in the shop one day up there. I got to swap out light bulbs. I got to put them new turn signal. You know, I ordered green LED turn signal bulbs. And with these new cars, well, the new bulbs that I ordered were not what they call CAN bus. It's basically the body control module rejects the bulb because my turn signal flashers go about 90 miles an hour. So I asked Ryan, I said, how come my turn signals are going 90 miles an hour? He said, did you put CAN bus bulbs in? I said, CAN bus? Yeah, the bulbs have to be CAN bus approved. So I ordered CAN bus approved bulbs. They came the other day. But I have to get inside in a warm area to change them. Plus, remember I told you I ordered the green headlights and they're like turquoise? Well, I complained enough and the guy sent me true monster green replacement bulbs. So those have to go in the car. Either that or just wait till spring. Because I'm going to have to go up to pull apart and saw a bumper apart so I can mount my fog lights. I even called a Volkswagen dealer in Columbus for the hell of it. I said, do you show any mounts for fog lights? No. How many bumper covers? One. Does it have fog light mounts? No. I was like, how can the factory install fog lamps and have a special bumper cover and it not be listed in the parts? You know, I would be really pissed if I had to replace my bumper cover and they couldn't install my fog lights. It's the dumbest thing. So I'm going to have to go up to pull apart. And what I'm hoping is these are like add-on panels that go in the back of the bumper. Because if they're part of the cover, then I'm going to have to order a plastic welder and then cut them out of the scrap bumper and mount them into my bumper, which means ripping the whole front end of the car apart. You have a brand new set of fog lights and bezels and everything sitting out there, harnesses. Can't install them. Right from the factory. stupid. Matter of fact, the guy at Brunswick Auto Mart, he's going to keep his eye out for, well, it goes from 98 to 04. He's going to keep his eye out for a Passat that comes in for service work to see this fog light deal. But I won't be able to figure out what these mounts are until the weather gets over 32. Because there ain't no way I'm going to go crawling around cars that pull apart at 11-degree temperature. And then have to keep my fingers crossed that they don't scrap the car in the meantime. But they've got 3. Because in 05, they redesigned the fog light. I knew shit. You know, I jump into this shit sometimes. I saw a couple of Passats with fog lights, and I was like, oh, I'd like to put fog lights on mine. Order the fog lights, the wiring harness, the whole 9 yards, and then I can't put them on. Oh my God. I will never get used to that stuff. Where's links for? You ever going to get me pictures of that Crown Vic? Because if it's as nice as everybody says, her and I might have to haggle over the phone. The cheapest shipping I could get is $700. And the guy can't guarantee me when he would be able to pick it up. He says, if I'm coming back through that way, but I ain't making no special trip. Yeah, it's a guy with a hotshot trailer. He can carry 5 cars. But he says, I am not going out of my way to pick it up. If I'm coming through, he says, okay. Otherwise, the next cheapest is $1,000. And I ain't paying that to ship a car from Tempe, Arizona. Probably be cheaper to take a Greyhound out and just drive it back. I guess I'll have to look into Greyhound cost. Yeah, well, it catches me in more places than under my ears. Oh, you would think drinking this shit for 7 days, I would get used to it. No. Every time I take a drink, boy, it gets you. And it does. It gets you right in the back of the mouth. Like you say, after drinking it for 7 days, you would think finally my system would say, hey, don't go into shock every time you take a drink. But it doesn't taste any better now than it did 7 days ago. Well, believe me, Kathy, I have to force it down. It's not like getting, ocean spray sweetened. At least that stuff you could with no problem. Matter of fact, my one buddy, every now and then I'll stop over there, and he does vodka and cranberry juice, but it's the regular, not this shit. Thank God there's only 7 more days to go. And then there won't be any more in this house. Although it appears that it's kidney related, not what they were thinking originally. Because everything has finally returned to normal. And how I picked up an E. coli infection. When he said E. coli, I said, I didn't have any lettuce in my pants, Doc. I mean, that's where you hear E. coli in fresh vegetables or uncooked beef or some shit. There was an E. coli recall the other day. I can't remember what the hell it was. I think it was frozen vegetables. But like a couple of years ago when they had that E. coli outbreak at some restaurant in the Midwest, it was bad lettuce. Yeah, when the doctor called me, he says, "Yeah, you got an E. coli infection." I said, "Hey, I didn't buy a bag of chopped lettuce and pour it in my pants, Doc. How the hell did I get an E. coli infection?" I guess it's quite prevalent in UTIs. A lot of UTIs are E. coli. I'm like, where did I get this from? And the whole thing is, the only way I'll find out is when I see a urologist. Because they're in tune with all this. And I'm going to ask them, how the hell did I get an E. coli infection? But I did. If anybody's going to get it, it's me, Other people get normal infections. I get an E. coli. But, When he said cranberry juice, I said, "Oh God, that's an old frickin' wives' tale." He said, "No, it isn't. But make sure you get the unsweetened." I was like, "Okay," until I took the first drink. My tongue rolled back in my mouth and closed my esophagus, and was it? That's it. We're done. Yeah, well, Kathy, I rarely buy naked food. Like when I get the red peppers, the red and yellow peppers, they're packaged. I don't get the fresh one because who knows who's been handling it. Every time I buy any vegetable, it's packaged. You know, they'll have carrots in a bag and carrots laying behind the bag in the trough. I very rarely buy naked food. That was like last week. They on the ready to rot rack. They had like 8 or 10 bunches of carrots. Now I could have bought them. They were 50 cents a bunch. Brought them home, washed the shit out of them. Take the old carrot peeler and roasted them, and they'd have been fine. Because when I clean fruit and vegetables, I have a box of them blue exam gloves. Because my doctor snuck me a box one day. I very rarely handle anything with bare hands. Because I've seen people, I don't want that. I don't like that one. Keep your hands off it. You don't want it. Plus, if I get the 4 peppers packaged, they're a hell of a lot cheaper than buying one. God, I can buy 4 peppers, 2 yellow, 2 red, or a yellow and an orange and 2 red or something. I can get them 4 for $2.99, or one for $2.99. Grumpy is cheap. The only thing I buy naked is onions because there's 300 layers before you get to the onion. Because basically, when I use an onion, I cut through that first, they call it a leaf. Cut through that first leaf and throw it all away. And then I have nice, clean, fresh onion. That's like when I get the bag of them, the hell they call them, gourmet baking potatoes. They're pre-washed. Well, they get another wash before I do anything with them. Because my immune system is down anyway. I can't afford like this. This scared the shit out of me. All I was envisioning laying there in ER was them saying, "Well, we're going to admit You can't admit me. My car's in the parking lot with a phony license plate. The police come through and patrol over here. Let me go move it somewhere. Hide it. But ever since that first E. coli scare 5, 6, 7 years ago, I don't buy naked vegetables. Not to mention, the guy in the produce department, he's got his hands on everything. He don't wear gloves. He'll start putting out peppers and then, okay, I'm going to put carrots out, and then, I'm going to put lettuce out. And you don't know what's getting cross-contaminated. That's why I buy bagged lettuce. And even you can't trust that shit. If I have a taste for salad, I get that, they call it the Italian mix. It's got all kinds of lettuces in it. It's got a lettuce that never existed when I was a kid. Radicchio. I don't ever remember, when my uncle was planting his garden going, all right, I'm going to put in iceberg lettuce and a row of radicchio. It gets me right here, right behind the jaw. Ugh. 7 more days. We're going to do a countdown. Tomorrow will be 6, and 5, 4. Then I go in and see my primary care doctor, and he'll yell at me, and I'll say, that's it, we're done. If the infection's going, let's concentrate on the toe now. Because, man, it's getting worse and worse and worse. God, more painful to fucking walk. I'm tired of being gimpy. Gimpy grumpy. Yeah, when I take a drink, you feel it back there for me too, don't you? Oh, you'd think maybe like in the back of the throat or something. No, it's right behind my jawbone, right? Take a drink and all of a sudden, pucker power inside your mouth. But it works. Between that and the antibiotics, I have to admit to the doctor, it works. As a matter of fact, my buddy's wife was telling me about it last Sunday. She goes, I get UTIs all the time. She goes, before I call the doctor, I get my cranberry juice. Well, I'm not too far behind you, Ron. Mine started in 97. So, and from 97 to 04, it took them that long to diagnose what the hell the problem was. God, you ought to see the matter of fact, I gave it to my doctor, and I said, take it home and read it. I've got a medical file that's that big. with every freaking test and x-ray and CT scan and MRI and PET scan and you name it. I went through more doctors than China had rice. Then finally got one that hit the diagnosis on the head. And his name was Dr. Dick. And outside of his office, he was a dick. Inside of, I'll tell you what, sitting talking to him in his office, it was like we were old friends. Once he got out of his office, oh, was he an asshole? Like I say, the one day I was running short on quarters. I gave him 2 dimes and a nickel, and he stood there and went, "What the fuck's this?" "What's your change, Doc?" "Well, what the fuck is this?" "I don't want this. Give me a quarter." "Well, I only got 2 left." "Well, after you give me one, you'll have 1 left." "Oh, here's your quarter, asshole." Then I have an appointment with him, and we would sit and talk about all of his Maserati restorations. Because that's what he did for a hobby. He restored old Maseratis. Because one day he took me for a ride in his restored Maserati Ghibli, which looked like a Corvette. Dr. Dick. Can you imagine the ribbing he got growing up? "What's your last name?" "Dick." And to make matters worse, he had a partner whose name was Dr. Seaman. It was spelled Seamon. Neurology office of Dick and Seaman. That's what it said on the front of the building. Neurology office of Dr. Dick and Seaman. Everybody walk by and go, "They got to be fucking with us." Nope. And then Dr. Seaman went to the clinic. So they painted that over on the sign. Yeah, Kathy, it was right across the street from the hospital, too. You would stand at the entrance to the hospital and look across the street. Neurology office of Doctors Dick and Seaman. I said it should have been urology office, not neurology. Yeah, it was Seamon was his partner. I didn't have the nerve to ask him, how the hell could you get a partner like that with the last name of Dick? I didn't want to get thrown out. I never thought of taking a picture of it. I never, that would have been a conversation piece right there. Here, look at my doctor's office. But I'll tell you what, from 97 to 04, I went through more fucking doctors. And he nailed it. Because he felt bad telling me it was incurable. He said, we can manage the pain. We can't stop it. Christ, I thought he was going to fucking cry the one day. I don't know how to tell you this. Doc, just tell me. Yeah, but it's not good news. Doc, tell me. Yeah, it's not good news. I'm a big boy, Doc. Tell me. And he told me. And I was like, okay, where do we go from here? What's the plan? He was one of the few good clinic doctors. The goddamn clinic is fucking world famous. It's been world famous for years. Over in the United Arab Emirate Republic, or whatever the hell they call it, they build a clinic. There is a Cleveland clinic over in the UAE because they thought so much of the clinic. But to me, after dealing with Metro, that is a hospital full of assholes. I don't care how world famous they are, especially the goddamn Canadian doctors. That was like when I got the cancer diagnosis. The doctor started to kind of beat around the bush. And I said, I'm an adult. I live by myself. Well, I said, just fucking tell me. He said, well, you're stage 4 plus. I was like, holy fuck. Really? I don't feel bad, except that goddamn tumor I had in my throat. And he says, all right, when do we start chemo? Next week. Good, I'll be here. Then they stuck 2 garden hoses in my hand, brought in 2 machines with 560 bags of different colored shit. Talk about getting scared shitless. When that girl from the pharmacy wheeled those 2 things in, and she looked like she was ready to land on the moon. I was like, what the hell's all this? Well, if it gets on your skin, it'll burn the skin right off your body. I was like, and you're going to fucking pump that in me? I don't think so. I know it works different inside. Oh, and you're wearing a fucking moon suit. You look like Neil Armstrong's daughter. But I tell all my doctors, just say it. Well, you're going to die in 2 days. Okay, I got 2 days to have fun. It's why beat around the fucking bush? I'm 75 years old. You ain't going to scare me with too much, Every new doctor, like with my new primary care, I said, we're going to have an understanding right from the get-go. Whatever it is, I don't care how serious, tell me. Don't beat around the bush. Lay it out. So then we can go to plan B. He says, well, a lot of patients don't like that. I'm not a lot of patients. I'm an old cranky bastard. Tell me. Lay it out. And then tell me what's plan A, B, C, D. Matter of fact, my old oncologist, he was shocked when I said, all right, when do we start chemo? How about next week? I'll be here. What time? He said he'd never had a patient like that. Of course, my new oncologist, Dr. C, the one with the warm greeting, opens the door. You're still smoking. No, I'm not. You didn't see them. I leave them in the car. I can't fool him. Then I get the lecture, you know. I know. Matter of fact, I see him next month. I'm going to walk in with this in my pocket. I'm going to tell him I'm not smoking, Doc. I'm vaping. Then I'll get a bunch of shit about this, too. So, well, I'm cutting down on smoking. Well, vaping ain't good for you either. No lectures. Thank you. He's about 5'2", little short Chinese guy. I like it. I like the shit out of him. I really do. But you know what pisses me off? This is now my fourth oncologist. The first two, the Cleveland Clinic stole. You know, they promised some big office staff, labs, more money. And the other two got stolen away by UH. All these hospitals steal each other's doctors. Although mine's been there for 20, 25, 27 years. But, you know, my previous one, she was Japanese. What was her name? I really liked her. I can't think of her name. She says, oh, I've been here 22 years. I'm not going anywhere. 2 months later, I'm going to the clinic. You just told me you ain't going nowhere. That's what it is. You're tops in your field, so other hospitals lure you away. More money, big office staff, labs. Yeah, my first oncologist told me outright. He said, man, what the clinic's offering me, I can't turn down. Matter of fact, they told him, they said, you're going to be a teaching doctor. More money. There goes the loyalty. Out the door. And I hate changing doctors. I hate it. Luckily, each new one I've liked. But you got to go through all the fucking. They look at the records and go, oh, we got to redo this test and we got to redo this and we got to redo that. And I'm like, you got all the results right there. Why do I have to go through all this shit again? Oh, we got to do another new MRI. We just did one last year. Well, no, that things could change. Matter of fact, next week, the 4th, I have to go for a chest CT scan again. I just did one 6 months ago. Again. Sometimes I wonder, do they really need to run this? Or is it this? Well, let's see. We're a little short on funds. Oh, we'll send Grumpy for another CT scan. And the insurance company's like, we just did one. Hey, talk to the doctor. Don't talk to me. But, they open your file and they have your whole history from day one. Oh, we got to redo this test, and we got to redo this one, and we needed this one. Why? Yeah, Kathy, like today. Every time I got switched to another tech, I had to explain the whole process. I'm like, don't you guys put notes in a file? I mean, I could hear the one guy typing away. Matter of fact, I told him, I said, is that keyboard from 1970? He said, well, they are quite old. Clack, 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 clack. Yeah, right. That's what I keep saying. They look at the budget and they go, oh, we're a little low here. All right, we'll send the next 10 patients for CT scans and we'll build the budget back up. You need to switch doctors, Ron. A couple of weeks ago, I had to do that shit. I had to go out for a blood pressure check. I walked in, here's my arm. Okay, you're good to go. See ya. I get a bill like that, I'd be switching hospitals. I can almost imagine what the bill is going to look like from my ER visit. It hasn't posted on my chart yet. I get a copy of what they pay. Christ, goddamn CT scan is $1,200 and some dollars. After the last one, I got a copy of the bill. $1,270 for. I was in the machine for like 10 minutes. I wasn't in there long enough to warm the sheets. 15 minutes, $1,270. I'm going to have to look up and see how much the MRI was. I forget what that one was. And then like $400 for x-rays. I can almost imagine what the bill from my toe is going to be by the time they x-ray it and study it and then chop it off. I don't even want to think of the cost on that. I really don't want to think about losing that first digit, but something's got to go. Although I already know what it's going to look like. Because the way it's bent, when I look at my foot, I can't even see that first digit. So I know what it's going to look like when he gets done. I just hate the thought of a piece of my body is going to be missing. Whack. And then I was reading today. I shouldn't Google shit. Some surgeries are done outpatient and you're in a twilight sleep. You are basically awake for the surgery. That scared the shit out of me. They said most simple amputations are done outpatient and you are awake. Yeah, I'm going to tell them, put it in formaldehyde and send it home with me, please. I'm going to put it on my console, look at it, shake it up. Maybe put some glitter in there like a snow globe. I'll find out when I meet with the surgeon. But yeah, they say basically the surgery averages 45 minutes. You're in recovery for 2 hours, and then you go home. With toe and bag. Yeah, Mr. Grumpy, here, you take your bag. What's in it? Your toe. Oh, okay. Can I put glitter in that jar? Why would you want to put glitter in that jar? Well, I'm going to make it a toe globe. You know, like a snow globe? But it's going to be a toe globe. Give me that toe back. I know I'm a sick son of a bitch. It would be cool, though. Have it in a jar, shake it up. Have multicolored glitter in them. I believe it, Kathy. I remember when my buddy's wife was in the hospital. And he got a detailed invoice. And when we were going through it, it was like $2 for a Band-Aid. I'm like, you can go to the goddamn store and buy a box of Band-Aids for $1.25 at Dollar Tree. Yeah, Band-Aid, $2. Band-Aid, $2. Cotton ball, 75 cents. It was ridiculous. The itemized, they charge for every fucking thing. You get that plastic water pitcher and that fucking plastic urinal or bedpan, and the plastic water pitcher is like $6 and the bedpan is 11. And Jesus Christ. Yeah, it was like $2 for a Band-Aid. And then they wonder why insurance companies don't want to pay. I could see making a little bit of profit, but Jesus. You know, a hospital buys Band-Aids by the 100,000. I'm sure they get a decent discount. Well, yeah, Kathy, yeah, 100%. You know, they buy 100,000 Band-Aids for like an eighth of a cent a piece, and then they charge you $2. You know, like when I had my blood draw, I felt like telling the guy, just give me a little piece of cotton, I'll hold it on my arm until, it stops. You don't need the tape and all that other shit. And then they use that shitty white, it looks like fibrous tape. It don't stick for shit. When he got done, because they go off the top of my hand because I have such fantastic veins on the top of my hand. Matter of fact, while I'm sitting there talking to him, I'm smacking my hand, get the veins up. And he put that piece of cotton and that white tape, and it fell off. And I said, so then he puts a cotton ball on, and he uses that cling wrap. And it was really cool because it was pink with purple hearts on it. He said, "Oh, I'm sorry, this is all I got." I walked out with cling wrap and pink with purple hearts. I can almost imagine what they charge me for that shit. Yeah, he hold the cotton for a minute. Okay, rips off that white shitty tape, puts it down. I pull my hand back, it falls off. I was like, Jesus Christ. Well, let me cling wrap it. Then it got stuck to my fucking glove. I go home, I go to take the glove off. I rip the cling wrap off. I said, it ain't bleeding anyway. All of that cling wrap is pretty neat shit. Whoever invented that shit. That's pretty cool stuff. But pink with purple hearts? Sorry, this is all I have. Whatever. Wrap my hand, I'll stick it in the glove, nobody will see it. Then I go to take the glove off, and yeah, that didn't last long. Am I bleeding? No. Okay. Because with me taking a low dose aspirin every day, I bleed like a stuck pig. Although it was surprising how fast, although the needle he used was hardly anything. Because I told him when I sat down and he come out with all the 467 test tubes, there was one of every color: red, yellow, blue, green, purple, orange. I was like, what's with the rainbow here? So he says to him, I got trypanophobia. And he looked at me. You know what it is? No. You went to medical school? Yeah. They didn't teach you that? No. What is it? I said, fear of needles. You got a butterfly back there? No 20 gauges. No. Which then the butterfly takes 3 times as long to do 10 vials of blood. Then it started to stop, and I was like, oh, God, you got to stick me again? No, we're all right. Move your hand a little bit. Okay. I still have the orange vial and the purple vial to fill. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, I lined them up in colors. I never saw so many colored. It was a rainbow in front of me. I guess each vial is for a different blood test. Why not just take a quart and everybody can suck a syringe full out? Yeah, it's surprising. Even my doctors have no idea what trypanophobia is. I said, gargle it. Yeah, my new primary care doctor, the one I see now. I said, put on your chart, I've got trypanophobia. What's that? I said, you're the doctor. I never heard of it. You never heard of it? All those years in medical school, all these years of practicing medicine, you've never heard of trypanophobia? No. What is it? Then I had to tell him. Oh, really? Never heard of it. Well, after I leave, gargle it and read up on it. But make sure it's on my chart. Tell the nurse when she comes in. So then the nurse comes in. I want you to put on my chart I got trypanophobia. How do you spell it? Like it sounds. Trypanophobia. What is it? Do you have your phone in your pocket? Yeah. Gargle it. Bedside manner, office side manner. Although some of my doctors are wonderful. My ENT, I love the guy. My pain management doctor, love the guy. My new oncologist, the little Chinese guy, I love the guy, except when he yells at me, you're still smoking. But my new primary care, him and I are starting to get kind of edgy. I think I want to see his partner. The one who basically called me from his home on Sunday morning to tell me what they suspected was my problem and issued my prescription from home on Sunday morning. Him, I want. Matter of fact, the third, I have to see my primary care. I'm going to say, hey, I want your partner. And that'll piss him off. How many doctors call you from home on a Sunday morning? I had a message to call him. It went to voicemail. I left a message. 10 minutes later, he come in, he says, I was out plowing snow. I said, oh, you got a side job? No, I was doing my driveway. Let me get into my computer. On a Sunday morning. That's the doctor I want. Not Mr. Krabby. Because evidently he didn't get the message when I told him you don't yell at me. And he's still yelling at me. So give me your partner. No, telemed, at least through Metro, is $65. If now my doctor's office calls are $312. Telemed $65 because I had a telemed with a very pleasant doctor too, and that was on a Sunday morning. Had it right up on the screen, like now, except it was a split screen. Her on one side, me on the other. That was when my goddamn tooth got infected. She told me, get as close to the camera as you can. Okay. I mean, my insurance paid it, but it was way cheaper than an office visit. Yeah, because on my chart, I get the bill, and it shows what the office call is. And then, my copay, which is nil, thank God, helps to have good insurance. But yeah, office call for the doctor is $312. And $200 of that is hospital fees. Yeah, he gets $112 and the hospital gets $200. But the total is $312. That's how ridiculous medical costs have gotten. God, I can remember back in 1970 going to the doctor and the office call was like $15. That's the one nice thing about the way Metro runs their My Chart. You get everything. I can click on all the different things like, bills, messages, medications, go through every tab, and it tells me, like my test results, I print them. Brings it up, it's got a little thing in the corner for print. and I sit here and go through them rather than look at them on the screen. Well, wow, look at that. It's 9:15. Man, time flies when you're having fun. One more for Kathy. Enjoy that one, Kathy. Yuck. Oh, goddamn stuff. 7 days to go. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here. It's been another fun show. Oh, we know where, right here, WDWL TV, home of not one, but 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And I'm your host, Grumpy Old Man. We will meet again tomorrow night. Everyone, take care. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. And like usual, there'll be 2 see-yas. See you 1. And see you 2.